I've discovered one of my new favorite things, and it's called a session mead. Now, with the weather warming up, I wanted to create a fruity, refreshing alcoholic beverage, and what I came up with is this sparkling sour strawberry and hibiscus mead. And it was easier to make than I expected. In a large pot of water, I'm adding hibiscus tea along with a bag of frozen strawberries, which I really didn't measure, instead just going off of taste. Then I'm going to turn on the heat and start bringing this up to a boil. Now, this bobber thing is called a hydrometer, and it tells me how much sugar is dissolved in this brew. The higher it floats, the more sugar is dissolved, and the more dissolved sugar means higher potential alcohol. Now I'm going to use honey as my source of sugar for this, but you can use sugar or maple syrup instead. I kept adding honey bit by bit until my bobber showed a potential of 5% alcohol, at which point I'll turn off the heat, I'll sanitize the fermenter and pour my brew in, making sure to run it through a sanitized sieve as well, and let this cool down completely to room temperature. I'm using a brewing yeast called Philly Sour, which also contains bacteria that produces lactic acid as well as yeasts to produce the alcohol. I'm adding about half a pack of yeast to my brew, and then I gave it a quick mix before closing the lid, throwing on an airlock, and then setting this brewing for about 2 weeks, or until the bubbles stop coming out of the airlock. And just to be sure fermentation is done, I'll give this another bobber check, and we're seeing pretty much no sugar remaining, which means I can confidently say this is around 5% alcohol. However, it's still a little cloudy, so I'll put this in the fridge for a day or two, which should make a lot of the sediments settle to the bottom. I'll add a tablespoon of sugar to a couple pressure safe bottles and then fill them with some of the mead. Close the bottles up and then give them a quick shake before setting them aside at room temperature to carbonate. If you are bottle carbonating, make sure to move the bottles to the fridge to completely cool off before opening. And other than being incredibly refreshing when served ice cold, this was fruity, tart, and dry. Everything I want in a summer drink, and I think I'll be scaling this up and serving this at my next barbecue.